What's happening? It's Larry Loudpack bringing you the latest in cannabis news and culture. In here with my man Malik, the manager.
How you doing?
And this is Fuego News. Let's get it. Twitter is now allowing cannabis companies to advertise on the platform, making it the first social media platform to do so. But you'll have to follow certain guidelines to take advantage. Twitter announced the change in rules on February 15th, effectively allowing marketing of cannabis brands and products on the platform. But companies looking to advertise will have to pass through an approval process and show that they have proper licensing. Companies also will be limited to targeting jurisdictions they're allowed to operate in and cannot target anyone below 21 years old. Many companies have already embraced the changes made by Twitter, including Trulieve Cannabis, who launched a multi-state marketing campaign on the platform on the day the policy changed. Trulieve wasted no time.
Nah, they was not bullshitting. They was trying to get to the money ASAP. That's a whole nother market.
They're playing with their money on a lot of platforms.
Exactly.
It also shows the partnership between a lot of these social media platforms and the feds because they're following federal rules.
Oh, so you don't think they would have...
Remember how Elon just got rid of that partnership between SAMHSA and Twitter? Mm-hmm. That was a federal partnership because that's a federal organization. Mm-hmm. So I'm imagining that basically Twitter is distancing themselves from the federal stuff. Mm-hmm. So now they're allowing certain places to enforce their own jurisdictional rules, as opposed to like Instagram and Mark Zuckerberg are probably working very closely with the feds and not trying to piss them off.
That's crazy. When you see how the feds just move with social media in general, the fact that Elon has purchased this, we're kind of seeing firsthand how he's kind of creating his own world.
We needed it.
We were even talking about not even messing with Twitter.
Now we might have to mess with Twitter.
We might have to give y'all a Twitter account.
It's one thing to censor people in a certain fashion, like from saying certain things or saying political things or whatever. That's already weird. But then just stopping businesses from advertising the product that they can legally sell is super weird. What would be a better partnership for federal organizations to be able to surveil all sorts of people? Mm-hmm. It would be a social media conglomerate. They're literally just building whole Fed profiles off your Instagram right now.
So one of the restrictions and conditions is advertisers may not promote or offer the sale of cannabis.
Online sale. Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So you can't be like, yo, Venmo me and I'll shoot you a brick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair. And it's crazy that a lot of these companies are getting as big as they are without being able to advertise on social media. In today's day and age, that is the number one way of marketing, right?
You have to.
You have to. There's no other way of having any type of company other than a cannabis company and not advertising on social media. Working at dispensaries, I've had bosses who have had issues with certain systems where they basically like can't advertise on certain things. They'll get, pulled down off of Instagram for posting certain things, or even these rewards programs where they'll have, where you collect a bunch of people's phone numbers and then you shoot out text blasts to let them know about deals, and they censor like all the words because it's the phone carriers censoring these words. So you can't say anything about weed, 420, oil, joint. You can't say any keyword that's related to weed, and that's text messages.
I wonder how these phone companies are getting into these text messages and like changing shit like that, because that sounds suspect.
Well, phone companies have federal partnerships too.
Apparently, like, Apple doesn't let the feds just look into somebody's phone.
Apple has no control over what happens to that phone after it is now in the hands of Verizon Wireless. And now Verizon Wireless is intercepting your text messages. They're not going through your phone.
It's the phone carriers.
We can text about weed between just us. But if you're mass texting to people, they know that you're marketing something. An attorney accused of running a cannabis licensing scheme in Oklahoma is now facing 13 felony charges related to nearly 400 illegal grow operations, and his case has been taken over by the Attorney General. Matt Stacy, an attorney in Oklahoma, has been investigated for months for allegedly assisting clients with filing false documents to acquire licenses to grow medical cannabis in what's being called a ghost owner scheme, and the Oklahoma Attorney General now alleges that many of the grows were set up for Chinese organized crime operations. The Attorney General's office made a statement claiming Stacy didn't just enable the crimes, but he is culpable of the crimes committed by his clients, and made it clear that they plan to pursue the case to the full extent of the law. This all adds up too much. People are all in our comments talking about the triad in Oklahoma. You know, that's a real thing
on
going
TikTok.
on.
They're going they're giving us full-blown details on what's going on over there.
And that's a real thing that's been happening. I know people who worked out in Oklahoma, and they can account for these weird Chinese grow operations getting funded by like out-of-country investors, and then Wu came through for his 300.
This dude, Matt Stacy, is going crazy.
He turned up. No, shout out Matt, yo, free the guy.
Matt is going ballistic right now.
He got all the homies lined up.
Matt found the loophole and started going crazy because he felt like there was an opportunity. Now they're trying to come back to him saying that, oh, you're doing this business wrong.
So Matt Stacy is the attorney, and he got an attorney. And then his attorney was saying he didn't do nothing wrong. They were following the laws. So they're claiming that this was legal before a regulation change happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think an attorney would be dumb enough to do something that he didn't think he was legally good for.
Exactly.
It seems like that is entirely possible. And honestly, he's an innocent man. I think you should free the guy.
You guys didn't actually go about the guidelines on the market over there correctly. Don't hate the player, hate the what?
Hate the game, man.
He was playing by the game.
Y'all changed the rules. And notice he didn't really get nabbed up until they started with that moratorium shit.
Mm-hmm.
They were all running it up. A town in Texas that voted to decriminalize possession of cannabis has not been implementing the new regulations and has continued to arrest people for cannabis possession. Voters in the town of Denton, Texas approved Proposition B in November, which effectively decriminalized the possession of up to 4 ounces of cannabis. But since then, there have still been at least 23 arrests and 30 citations issued for low-level weed charges. The Denton Police and City Office refused to comment when asked, but a city council meeting will take place on February 21st to discuss the issue. They ain't trying to stop arresting people for that in Texas.
It's Texas, bro.
And there's an issue between the police basically saying that it's out of their hands because it's federally illegal and it's not in their control. And then in Austin, where they have legalized for months now, they haven't had any of these issues. And people aren't still getting arrested. So it's not a law issue, it's an area issue, and it's like a belief system issue where certain police and certain people within that area don't want to let go of that control.
Of their old ways.
Of the old ways, or of that control over people in that way too. We know kind of where it started from, where it was a control over a certain type of people. They started taking notice of a particular type of people's actions and behaviors and then making those behaviors illegal. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what was going on. So certain people don't want to let go of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all was over there like, oh, okay, they like weed. We gonna have to dead that. That's how we gonna get them.
All right, what is he wearing?
To be fair, not all of it, I don't think, is based in racism. I think some of it is just based in just conservative ways of just people who don't like the idea of a mind-altering substance for their grandkids or for their kids.
I want you to know, you being real biased right now because we talking about Texas. They're not providing any data such as racial demographics.
Yes, that part. And I did read that. I forgot to bring that up. They're not telling us who was arrested for these things, right? So like we said, we don't know what the real agenda is behind this, right? And it looks bad. That's all we got to say.
And we'll wrap that up right there.
We'll move
Jesus Christ.
Synthetic weed is causing a rising amount of deaths in Florida and is being used as a case for recreational legalization, as many are pointing the finger at untested products being carried in gas stations and other shops. Data shows that at least 2/3 of cannabis-related deaths involve synthetic cannabis, and many of the rest were car accidents. But not every case is the same. In December of 2021, more than 50 people were hospitalized with severe bleeding after smoking synthetic cannabis products that were laced with rat poison, and many other cases have involved contaminants in products that aren't tested. National Poison Data System showed that states that legalized adult use of cannabis had 37% fewer poisoning reports for synthetic cannabinoids compared to states that prohibited cannabis. 37% is big.
The states that have it legalized are safer to consume weed in? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, because there's a regulated market.
Yeah.
So like they're using that as a case in Florida right now as an example of why they need to legalize recreational use, because they know if you don't legalize, there's going to be a black market, a bigger black market, right?
That's gonna have other products in there too.
And the black market is unregulated, untested. There's no way to tell who's putting what on what or spraying what with what. I've personally seen in the black market, you know what I'm saying, back before
Allegedly.
Yeah, back before the statute of limitations. I remember
There you go.
Yeah. People were taking hemp and spraying it with distillate, THC distillate, and calling it weed and selling them as like greenhouse packs. Bro, the craziest, nastiest stuff. So they're taking outdoor hemp that has less than 0.3% THC, like no THC. They're taking a distillate that is being distilled with alcohol out of a crude oil from some nasty bottom of the barrel trim oil. And then they're taking that distillate and spraying that THC on the hemp so that you get high enough, but it's super sus. And those packs were going around Oregon.
I never heard that before.
Yeah. And that's the type of stuff that they are trying to eliminate by regulating the market. You don't hear about this kind of stuff because nobody's trying to advertise that. Somebody does that in their garage and doesn't want to tell nobody, and then everybody else thinks that it's weed, right?
How do you feel about the corporate weed then? Because some of this corporate weed is Reggie that we're seeing.
It's sus, but it's at least tested. That's the only thing I can give them is that it's at least regulated and it's gone through testing. And they have to follow a certain guideline to grow it, right? So that's really all that we're asking is that there's a standardization of like, just don't allow there to be mold in a product you're selling me. If that was happening out here where people are spraying distillate on the hemp,
you can only imagine what kind of shit they
I
were
do
smoking
not want to
there.
see Florida's version of that.
Yeah, that's got to be horrific.
That's just sprinkling fentanyl on something. Documents have been released linking the largest cannabis company in the world to funding from a Russian oligarch tied to organized crime. Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich has a sketchy history of allegations relating to corrupt business deals, and leaked investment records now reveal an investment of $186 million into Curaleaf, a cannabis company whose 146 dispensaries in 21 states makes it the largest weed company in the world. The problem is that Curaleaf's financial records never disclosed any of these investments, and they were hidden behind layers of trusts and offshore companies seemingly trying to mask where the investments came from. The laws in Massachusetts, where Curaleaf is based, require any person investing 10% or more in the initial funding of a cannabis company to be disclosed in the paperwork. This means that if the allegations are confirmed, the largest marijuana retailer in the US and in the world could potentially have their license revoked for falsifying their license application.
All right, they got it cracking.
Cracking.
So look, Vice reported apparently, first and foremost, he's a partner with Putin.
Oh, yeah.
Partnering with Putin, he invested
His homies from the block.
$130 million and loaned $194 to cannabis companies in the country between 2016 and 2018.
Yeah.
$324 million?
Curaleaf is not the only one, that's just the biggest one. So I just made it about Curaleaf, but I did want to discuss the fact that he's got his fingers in some pots. You know what I'm saying?
What? They sanction him in the UK, European Union, Canada.
So he used to own the Chelsea soccer team, which is one of the biggest soccer teams in the world. Yo,
Woo!
he used
What?
that might be a bill.
That might be billions.
Might be a bill. He owned that and got forced to sell that asset as the Ukrainian invasion was going on. They put sanctions on him because he's Russian. So they made him sell his assets in all these other countries that are allied with America. That means that he had to sell his portions of these weed companies. So he's no longer an owner of these weed companies, but he was involved in the initial startup, allegedly, of many weed companies.
So one of the owners, Andrei Block, one of Curaleaf's biggest shareholders, he's the president of Sibneft, and that's a Russian oil company.
Yeah,
so he's getting his money from those guys up top.
He's not playing. Like,
At all.
He's not just a little guy.
This dude is out here
He's big
moving.
boy. They had to tighten up on him because he was stepping too big.
Bro.
They don't like when you step in that big from countries that are a threat to America. Basically, he got investigated for corrupt deals, laundering money and wiring money between offshore accounts. And
He got a certain look on his face that like is really like, hey, you think shit's sweet over here?
it's not.
You can try.
Oh, you thought it was sweet? Okay. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah. I got you. Yeah. I would say innocent. Innocent until proven guilty.
Innocent.
I don't know.
Man. Innocent.
Yeah, no, I hope they stop playing around with them. This is really silly, all the stuff they're doing to him.
One of the biggest, bro.
Yo, he controlled large parts of the Russian economy after the Soviet Union collapsed in the 1990s. He became a supporter of Vladimir Putin and assumed government positions after Putin took charge. Son, innocent. Let's move on.
Shout out to them people in Ukraine.
Yeah, we got nothing to say about these guys.
Nah.
Yeah. Nah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Happy Black History Month. Once again.
Hey, subscribe, like, all that.
All that. Comment, share. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all.